Hi, my name's Annabella Piñon and I work with California Drywall. I'm a project manager and I've been with the company for about 20 years now. International Women's Day, to me, it's great because I think that especially now with more of social media, things like that, it's more exposed. And I think that a lot of people don't necessarily think of it as a day of celebration, but as it's been more and more on social media, I think it's great because it gives you information of not only like historically why it's important to celebrate women in general, and not only that, internationally. I think there's been so many women throughout our history that should be celebrated, and we should continue to celebrate women as they are, not only in the construction world but in pretty much all fields. I think the most important thing that we can do as employers is really identify like that talent. And I know I talked about this earlier, like as far as to like passion, drive, like those are some things that you can't really teach, because a lot of times, I would say more than usual, especially when women are doing the same roles as men, women tend to be taking on more tasks. Women are usually have a lot more on their plate opposed to a male who's also doing the same position. And I think that as employers, like we could fill that gap, or we can change that by actually identifying like talent versus just a gender role. Like if a woman can do the job just as well as a man can, then that woman should also get paid just as much as that man is. I feel that even in the construction industry, there just tends to be this sort of old school mentality, is because we're men that we're the only ones that can do the job. But I feel like now, especially with a lot of these changes that are happening culturally, and also with us filling in what those typical gender roles would be, we're kind of bridging that gap. I think it's important to challenge the norm, to uplift others when you see them struggling. I think it's important to just be an ally, just be an ally for those who you might think are need a little help, and I think like even just being a manager and having assistants and working with my foreman, my superintendents, I think that regardless of the gender, whoever it is, I think that it's important to understand them just as human beings first, and then empower them in ways that having those conversations like, hey, what can we do different? Hey, I'm looking for improvement. I'm looking for some feedback on this. It's like really getting, I think, people more engaged and involved is like one way of getting people to, to feel uplifted, to feel like they're being supported on a team. So that's one thing I think I could share on that.